special guest with us this evening. In January this year, I decided to stick my neck out a little bit. Hi, Leslie. Hello, lovely. And really go for some good PR in my business. And I knew exactly the person that I was going to ask to help me with it. And she is with us here tonight. I'll bring her on in a minute, but it's Nicola Rowley, who has led me through all the PR maze, if you like. And I've ended up in all sorts of publications. We'll talk about them in a minute. One of them being on my wall here. That's Woman magazine on my wall. And it's all thanks to Nicola. So I shall bring her on. If you've got any questions during the session, by the way, please do ask. She'll be more than happy to answer them. But I shall bring in Nicola now. Here she is. Hello.
Hello. Lovely to be here.
Oh, it's so good to have you here today. I'll put my glasses back on, otherwise I can't see. So Nicola, it's lovely to have you here. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, first of all.
So for anyone that doesn't know me, my name's Nicola Rowley. It's lovely to meet you. I run a communications agency called NJR PR, which specializes in strategic storytelling. So harnessing the power of PR through strategic storytelling. And what that means is absolutely everything should be wrapped up in a story. The reason that it should be wrapped up in a story is because that is what journalists are after. If you go to a dinner party, the things that you remember the most afterwards are the anecdotes. They're the things that you come home with and you really remember. And by telling stories, we resonate much more with the people that are potentially going to go on and become our clients. By having that emotional connection with something that you might say, or a journey that you've been on, or a change of life. And I'm thinking specifically of you, Annie, when I'm saying that, like in terms of going from being a head teacher to a home baker and a professional, helping other people get to grips with business and the importance of knowing all of the business basics when it comes to running your own business. So that's what I do. I mean, I worked as a journalist for 13 years before I even ventured into PR. And I loved being a journalist. I thought it was great because for me, it was all about telling stories. So that was the whole reason that I became a journalist. But
you interviewed quite a few people, didn't you, that we might know?
Yeah. I did. So when I left the BBC, I was the entertainment reporter for BBC Three, and I used to go along to all the press junkets and stand on red carpets and interview loads of really well-known people. I mean, just off the top of my head, like people like Javier Bardem and Sir Richard Attenborough, and you know, there were so many people that I was able to interview. Sir Michael Caine and Barbara Windsor when she was still with us, and they were like people that I looked up to as I was growing up. So it was an amazing time, but I just couldn't see me standing on a red carpet sticking a microphone under someone's nose when I was 50. I just couldn't see it. I was just like, hang on a second, there's a shelf life to this. And so I wanted something a bit more creative, and that's how I ended up moving across into PR. And PR is definitely not disappointed at all. But I was very much about raising, initially when I first went into PR, it was all about raising awareness for brands and helping brands become well known and raise the awareness about a new program. So I worked a lot in TV publicity. But whereas, like, you know, my other colleagues, they did really well, but I was always the one that was tasked with PRing the more difficult programs. I always had the really tricky things to PR, and yet I'd be the one getting the double page spreads, or the, you know, like everything. Like everyone used to look at me and go, how are you getting all this coverage? And it was because I understood what journalists wanted. And that I was also able, I'm very much a people's person. You'll know, you'll recognize that really quickly about me. So I treat everyone how I would want to be treated. And I think if you do that in life, I do think it comes back to you. So very much, I built really great relationships with journalists. And so whenever I needed a bit of a favor, I was just like, please help me with this program. They'd look at me and they'd go, oh, go on then, we'll put it in. And so I was able to get all of this amazing coverage, but there was always something missing for me. And a lot changed for me when my little boy came along. So once I'd had him, I went back to work, but I really struggled with being back at work. I had separation anxiety from him. And it also meant like I changed my perspective in terms of, is this really what I want to be doing? And I realized that something was missing. And that something was the storytelling element. Eventually, by the time he was ready to go to school, I was working as the head of PR at Thorpe Park, which I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
But it was not going to be compatible with being a mum on the school gates and doing the drop-offs and the pickups. And because he was an August-born baby, it meant he literally started school 1 month after turning 4, and he was too little for me to not be there. So that transition was really important for me to be there. So I started my own business, and it's gone from strength to strength.
It certainly has. It certainly has. I mean, you've had clients all over the place, haven't you? And all you think of a British media, and Nicola's got someone on it or in it. And I think that your approach to it is something that perhaps new people and a lot of the people in this group, in my group, are perhaps newer to business. They're not sort of old and experienced. And I think the misapprehension, not misapprehension, that's not the right word. The
misconception.
Misconception, that's the word. Thank you. My brain's fuzzy. About PR. I think it's because, and I was thinking about this, I think it's because when you see all the top level celebrities on like Graham Norton and places like that, it's because they're selling a film or selling a book. So they're selling something. So I think the misconception is that PR is about here's my book or here's my cake. And it's not, is it? Because journalists don't want that. They don't want to know about that, do they? They want to know about a story that their readers or listeners will be interested in. And that's the approach that you take, isn't it?
It very much is. And I think sometimes, like, we look at PR and what we've heard about PR in the past, and like, you know, the PR industry as a whole does have a role to play in all of this, but it's very much jazz hands and look at this and isn't this wonderful, and it's all ego and like feed the ego. And that's not how I approach PR at all. So when I first went into PR, I realized very, very quickly, I am anything but your typical PR. I care. First of all, I care a lot about people that I work with and, like, you know, the outcome and how things are handled. It's really, really important to me that people feel safe. And the thing about PR and the way that I do it, I look at it as, what is the impact that you can have on others? What is the difference that you can make to someone else's life? Now, it may well be that you're sitting there and you're thinking, hang on a second, Nicola, I just bake cakes. No, you don't. You are making dreams come true for the people that you are actually helping. You are basically providing them with a glimpse of this beautiful, beautiful creation that they can then take with them. And if you don't tell people how it is that you can help them, how are they going to find you? So that's where I come from in terms of PR. And I think, yes, sometimes we can think, oh, it's, you know, we should just do something, or I've created a cake and so therefore that's it. That's all I can talk about. Well, no, it's not, because actually if you look at what makes you different from everyone else, it is always, always going to be your story. And sometimes people will say, well, hang on a second, I don't think I've got a story. Everyone has a story, and it is your superpower.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think also there's the misconception that PR is only for extroverts. Only, I mean, I am a bit of a drama queen, as you know, and I'll sort of, and I'm a bit outgoing and things. And I think some people think, oh, I'm perhaps not like Annie. I couldn't stand on a stage and, do this, that, and the other. So perhaps PR's not for me. But that's not true either, is it?
No, it's really not, because what you have to do is you have to start thinking about them. So think about the people that you're setting out to help. How is it that you can help them? And if you keep yourself to yourself, they're never going to know how it is that you can change their life, what the impact is that you can have. So you have to turn it around and not be thinking about, oh, I don't really want to talk about me. I don't want to talk about, my story or anything else. But when you look at how it could resonate with them, think about it like this. People buy from people.
Yeah.
They don't buy just because of, you are beautiful at creating cakes. There are other cake makers. But they will buy from the person that they resonate the most with. They will buy from the person that they just think, actually, I've got a connection with them.
Connection,
and
isn't it? Yeah.
It is a connection, and it's an emotional decision about who you work with. It's always the way.
Yeah. I mean, particularly things with cakes. I mean, there are wedding cake bakers in here. There are birthday cake bakers in here. But there are also, treat boxes, people that go to markets and sell brownies and cookies. And each of those has a certain customer. I'm always banging on about ideal customers. It's a concept that I didn't have when I first started my business. I had no idea about ideal customers. And I've sort of learned it on the way and how important it is. And nearly everything that I talk about in my lives comes down to who's your ideal client, So I think it isn't it? It's a case of knowing what problem you're solving for. Even a box of brownies solves a problem for somebody, doesn't it?
No, it really does. I mean, maybe someone is suffering from like a long-term illness or something, but to receive a box of brownies from someone else, that could make their entire day. And when you look at things in that respect, when you look at things from that point of view, you actually realize it's just so much more than just a box of brownies. It's like that could be a lifeline to someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm often talking about the know, like, and trust factor. People connect with you, as you say. People buy from people. You tend to gravitate towards the bigger companies if they've got lovely people on their staff, or you ring up their customer service and they're friendly and they make a little joke, and you want to connect more with that company, don't you? And it's the same with us in our business. There are people that you'll resonate with, people perhaps you won't, but that's the whole thing of human nature, aren't there? There are different people for different people. So, and it is a question of knowing who your customer is, what problem you solve, and here I am, I'm going to solve it for you. But it doesn't have to be sort of the big flamboyant jazz hands thing, does it?
No, it's very much not. And actually, I prefer it when it's not at all, because I think, like, the jazz hands look at me kind of approach. Like I said, it's just not me. It really isn't me. It's be able to have the impact that you can have, be able to make that difference. People will know it's you. You don't need to be all singing or dancing, doing a great big performance at all. So if that doesn't sit right with you, that's fine. It doesn't sit right with me either. I just stay in my own lane, get on and do with what I'm doing, and it works. And it can work for you too. But you do need to start being seen, and being visible right now is the most important thing. It's like everyone knows we're about to head into a recession, that we've got cost of living crisis, everything else. Now you might be thinking, well, hang on a second, I need to batten down the hatches. I need to just withdraw into myself, not invest, not do this, not be seen, all of the rest of it. And that is a big mistake. Right now, you need to be seen much more than you've ever been seen before. And I was talking about it in a live earlier today, but PR provides you with rocket fuel. And we'll talk about what that rocket fuel's done for you, Annie. But in terms of, being seen on a much bigger scale, having more reach, having even more credibility, being able to, have that kudos of having appeared in national media titles to say, as featured in, that is where people, when they come onto your website and they see as featured in, what do you think that does? It immediately makes them think, well, she must know what she's doing, because that third party endorsement from journalists is everything. If you look at, if you were to take out like a full page advert in a magazine, or you were to be featured in an article side by side, which one are people going to trust the most? You talked about know, like, and trust. They're going to trust the article because it's advertising, right? So she's had to pay for that, whereas that one has been earned. It's been earned. It's editorial. It carries a lot more weight.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's true to say, isn't it? We're talking about story, but it's not that you have to lay bare everything about you. You can be choosy as to what you tell, because I know that there are certain aspects of your life that you don't make public at all. And same with me, just because you're being open, with journalists, because you there are certain ways to deal with journalists to make sure that things you don't want said aren't said. Isn't that right?
Yeah. I think it's really important to feel safe when you are doing any of this. And I think a lot of people, sometimes when they start out in PR, that is their big concern. I mean, there's usually an issue with confidence or self-belief. That usually is a factor in there about holding themselves back from getting started. But then also there's a fear that actually something might be taken out of context, or something might be written about them that otherwise they wouldn't want. And a lot of that comes down to knowing your story. So as a foundation for all PR, understand what your story is and understand the parts of that story that you don't want covered. I always find it really interesting. Everyone says to me, "What, you're married?" And I'm like, yeah. We've been together 18 years this year, but no one knows. No one knows that he even exists, because he has made a conscious decision that actually he doesn't want to be seen within the context of what I do. And that's his choice. And I respect that. And so as a result, you will only ever see me, #PR dog, a la Rufus. And my little boy James. So that's all you will see, and you will see this as a unit, and you'll be like, oh, so Nick doesn't have a partner. Yes, I do, but it's his choice to do that, and I respect that, and I think that that's really important. But there could be other elements of your story that you don't want out there for whatever reason. Only ever share what you feel comfortable to share, and you can write your story and have your story written so that it doesn't include those parts. So if there's something you don't feel comfortable about sharing, that's okay. You don't have to share warts and all, and that's really important that you know that. And again, it's part of that being safe. You put the boundaries in place, and then you basically, through preparation before you even give an interview, you don't overshare. So you don't say anything to a journalist that you don't want in print or said on the radio or a podcast or on TV.
Yeah, I think that perhaps the problem that lots of, say, new businesses have who don't know about PR, they see all these things in the tabloids about all these celebrities and how it's clearly a lot of it is made up, and you can't trust journalists because they make things up. But actually, the journalists that I've worked with, that you sort of paired me up with,
maneuvered in front of you,
they've all been really keen that everything is right and everything is true, and tell me what you don't want to say. And I was quite surprised, I must say, that the whole, well, if you don't want to talk about that, that's fine, we'll go on to something else, because there was this sort of, journalists are after the scoop and after the scandal and things, but it really isn't the case, is it?
No, it's not. And you have to remember that I was a journalist. So
exactly,
there are you know, with any industry, and you will get this in baking, you will get this wherever you go, there is always a bad apple or two.
Yeah.
Always. But I would never want someone to come into contact with someone that is going to, you know, for the sake of the story, I just don't care about that person. The only journalists that I work with are the journalists that are very much, right, okay, so let's have a look at this then. How can we make this work? And 9 times out of 10, they'll ask me, is there anything that should be off limits? Or if I, like with yourself, when you came along and did the PR Six Pack event, it was very much, they were presented with your story and the angles that you could talk around. So they already knew, right, Nicola's already gone through these stories. These are the angles. This is what could work. And they may well have unearthed something else that I haven't done, which is fine, as long as the person was happy to talk about it. Yeah. And then that was absolutely fine. And what I find now with the PR Six Pack events, it is quite hilarious. They come to me, like the journalists are coming to me all the time saying, can I come to the next one? Can I come to the next one? Can you sign me up for the next one? When are your dates? They all want to know. And like literally, like even today, I had a conversation with another national journalist, and she was like, I need to come to these events. Could you please just put me into these events? Because word is starting to spread, and they all speak to each other, and they're all kind of like, I can't make that one, but can I invite the features director instead? I mean, we're not talking like small titles. We're talking like, you know, the Daily Telegraph and Metro and Hello and all of those kind of titles.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of got to the point where the journalists say to me, like, we don't go to other people. We're coming to you because we know that you work with a lot of people that are really great, credible experts within their own field. We just want to work with you because you understand about the stories.
Absolutely. And that's your genius, is that you can, you know, people that don't think they have a story, you'll find it. Tell us the story about the lady who did business on her patio in a caravan.
Oh, I love this story. So Camille came to me and she said, oh, you know, I don't think I have a story. They always do this. I don't think I have a story. And I was like, well, okay, well, that's why we're here. Let's find out. And we're going through and we're talking. I was like, where are you? And she was just like, oh, I'm in the caravan. And I was like, you've got a caravan? And she was like, yeah, it's on the driveway of my home. In fact, they call me the caravan lady. She was really proud of this. And I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. During homeschooling with your children, did you escape to the caravan? Oh my gosh, it was my safety net. It saved me throughout lockdown. Okay. You do realize this is your story. And she was just like, why? And I was like, every single mum who had to do homeschooling will resonate with that so much. We all needed a place to escape to. You had the caravan. That's what we all wanted, a caravan.
I love that story.
And then she said to me, oh, well, okay, Nicola, okay, I trust you. Fine. And I was like, I'm going to put you in touch with the journalist. Oh, okay, all right then. Didn't expect anything to come of it. Anyway, journalists absolutely loved it. And 2 weeks later, a photographer from The Sun comes along, and just before they were due to arrive, I said, have you created this sign? I want you to create this sign. I want you to hold it up when the photographer gets there. Be as creative as possible, but just put on it, do not disturb mum working. And she was like, all right, Nicola, I'm following what you're saying. I'm listening. So she did it. She made this sign, and she did it as a little heart. It was great.
Yeah.
And the photographer comes along, and she told him, Nicola told me to hold up this sign. So she held up her sign, and they took pictures with the sign, do not disturb mum working. And when the piece came out in the paper, there were lots of really, really impressive business owners. There was a lady there that had created a business, made £35 million from a lash business. And there was Camille. Now, who had the biggest portion of the actual paper? Camille. Why? Because everyone resonated with the mum that was on the driveway of a home trying to get through homeschooling. Do not disturb mum working.
Yeah.
And that having that sign brought the story to life. And
Yeah.
it meant that she got this massive exposure. I mean, it was huge, the piece. It was like absolutely massive across a double page spread in the Sun. If you were to try and get that in terms of advertising, you're looking at about £40,000.
Yeah. It's incredible. Oh, look, Laura says, I wish I'd had a caravan during homeschooling.
Is it right? We all wish we'd had a caravan. It's somewhere to just escape to.
Yeah, absolutely. But say that's your genius. I mean, you did it with me in that I thought, and part of my story is the whole head teacher finishing that changing career. But there was something else that you sort of, that I thought was like, oh, no, nothing of that. But you sort of...
I said to you what it was, and you were like, no, it's not that. And I was like, no, it is. And you were like, no. She was in denial for a long time. It took Annie to actually go in front of the journalist and actually be speaking to the journalist. And then all of a sudden, it was like the light bulb had gone on. And it was like an epiphany, because I said, oh my gosh, you know what we should do? We should do this. And the journalist was like, I love it. That is genius. And at that point you were like, she's right. Yeah. She's right. She just gets it. She's right. Yeah. And it just meant that the combination of you baking cakes and singing soprano, you've got to play that up because it's so unique. That really is your USP. And yes, you've called your business the right name, 100%, Leading Lady Cakes, but you don't play up on it enough in terms of the soprano element. I mean, I've still not seen any videos. I still need to see those videos of you baking cakes and singing.
Yeah. I'm working on its acoustic thing. My house is tiny, but I'm working on it. But yeah, it was because for me, the soprano thing was very separate. Even though it was Leading Lady Cakes, it was that's singing, this is baking, that was teaching. But you're sort of, oh no, it needs to know. You need to, and it was the chap
TikTok.
From it was this morning chap, wasn't it? Who was at the
it was.
Who said, let me know when you go viral on TikTok, and we'll have.
But I don't think you should worry about the acoustics. I mean, I really don't think you need to worry about the acoustics of your house. I think what we need to do is just actually go for it and like hire an Airbnb or like a studio, and then we just need to do it. And literally just go for it and then record lots and lots of different videos and songs and different cakes and different dresses and really go for it. Like I spend a whole day doing it with lots of different content. Yeah. And then you can drip feed it all out.
Do that. Yeah,
I think that's the way forward.
You see, this woman's a genius. She knows exactly what she's doing.
Oh, but once you do that, and then you release them bit by bit on TikTok, all it's got to do is take off. I mean, like it will take off really quickly. It will take off really quickly. And then when it does, then you can get back in touch with all of those journalists and say, by the way, it's gone viral.
I might be on Eurovision next year. You never know.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I think he's lovely. Yes. But anyway, I mean, it's I know the sort of opera singing thing is a bit whoa, you know. But I mean, there'll be lots of people watching this and in the group thinking, "Oh, I don't do anything like that," you know.
That's fine. That's fine. You'll still have your own story.
Exactly. There'll be something there, won't there, to hook on that other people will resonate with, and that's the point that you know that's what you try and get out of it, isn't it? The connection. That's what the word I'm looking for. The connection.
Yeah, definitely. You might have gone on an incredible journey to get to where you are now. You might have traveled the world, and yet the place that you're happiest is in your kitchen baking cakes. You know, you might have experienced all of these incredible things, and yet it always comes back to the baking. And that for you could have been passed on by a relative. It could have been passed on by the love of your grandmother or your mum or your dad or whatever it is. And that could have been their greatest gift to you. Well, look, when we're looking at around times for Mother's Day, perhaps there's a Christmas angle, those kind of things. That's when it makes like really compelling stories. Like your mum inspired you to do this, and now you're running an amazing cake company in memory of her. Like, how lovely is that? Something really special.
Want to hear about, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, because we like feel good stories, and what a brilliant way to honor someone who's given you and passed on that gift to you. It could be all kinds of things, but there's so many ways that you can look at it.
So tell us, I know that part of the reason that you're here is that next week you have a fabulous challenge that I've told my group about. Can you give them some kind of an idea as to what the challenge is about and what they'll get out of it? Because it's completely free, isn't it, the challenge?
Yeah, it's a free 4-day challenge. It's called From Incognito to Interviewed. It's a PR challenge. So what it's going to do is we're going to start off, first of all, with building up your confidence, because confidence is absolutely key when it comes to starting with PR. You may well have secured some PR in the past, but I think we could all do with like a nice little bolster of confidence to feel like, actually, I can do this. I can put myself out there. So we'll start with that. Then we'll also be looking at around messaging. So what is the kind of messaging that you want to be saying? What is it that you want to be known for? How do you want it to come across? So there's all of these kind of things. By the time you have finished the challenge, once you've done the 4 days, and they're 4 separate days, so it's Monday through to Thursday, for the 17th of October to the 20th of October, there are very simple tasks to do on every single day, but like they're not hard tasks. I know that we're all really pushed for time. I know that we're all super, super busy. The lives themselves will be maximum 20 minutes. And plus there'll be the little task at the end, which you can either do like as we go along, or you can catch up on and then do it retrospectively, because it will be in a Facebook group, so you can see the Facebook lives. But join in. That will be absolutely key, because you will get so much more from it, and you will see lots of other people around you. And you'll be able to go in there and introduce yourself and your business. So who's to say? Yeah, exactly. You don't know. Like, there are nearly 800 people signed up already. So you never know, out of all of those people, whether there's someone in there that needs a birthday cake, or, you know, a box of brownies, or, you know, a wedding cake, or whatever else it is, and they'll be looking for you. You don't know that. So you've got to be starting to put yourself out there, and use this as an opportunity to be able to put yourself forward and start talking about what it is that you do. And then at the end of the challenge, once we've had the challenge, on the Monday the 24th at 8 p.m, there will be a storytelling masterclass. You've heard me talk about storytelling and the importance of it, but then I will be talking you through all of the different elements for storytelling. And then, complete transparency, at the end of it all, I will be opening the doors to PR Mastery, the course, which is a course that Annie did for 9 weeks with me live before she started feeling confident enough to start putting herself out there and getting those opportunities to start being seen as much as she is.
Yeah, brilliant. And of course, there'll be I'll be in the group as well, and I know how you work. So, and I've done the challenge and the course, so I'll be able to help. You know, any of you that are watching this that go in and think, oh, I don't think I'll be able to do this, I will help you as well, and Nicola will, and everyone in there will help. So there'll be lots of support. And once you see everybody else doing it, you'll think, oh yeah, I get it now.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes things like when you don't quite know what you're dealing with, it can feel more kind of daunting before you step in. But you did the challenge, didn't you? That's how it all started for you.
Absolutely. And I went in thinking, oh yeah, I'm not sure about this, but yeah, here I am, Nicola.
Media superstar. She's been featured everywhere.
So, yeah, it started with Hello Online, and then The Sun picked that up and ran with it as well. So that just sort of happened organically, didn't it, really? And then I had Metro online, and they paid, well, they're going to pay me, they haven't yet, but they'll pay me for that. And they've asked for more. So I wrote a piece.
You've written two now, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah, I've sent another one to them as well. What else did I do? I did a local BBC radio interview. And
Woman magazine.
Yeah, of course.
And did the Telegraph run in the end?
No, they didn't in the end. No, I was, because of the Metro article, I was contacted. I need a wedding cake baker to do this, that, to comment on this. I did read the article, and she'd sort of gone in a different direction with it, so my quote wouldn't have been relevant. But that's sort of how things.
But
how
you
the ball
know,
rolls.
yeah, exactly. But you know that you're now on their radar. The fact that the journalist has seen you when she is writing an article that's similar kind of vein, and it's worth you also going back to her and just saying, I know I didn't quite make it in for this one, but I'm more than happy to help for any others. So it's worth you doing that. It's like, and that's it really. It's just keeping in with them all. And just keep going back to them and saying, if I can ever help you, then I'm more than happy to. But it sounds like you've got brilliant in with Metro. More things will come from that for definite.
Yeah. And it is a case, isn't it? Because, lots of people in the group, like me, might think there are loads of wedding cake bakers. There are loads of birthday cake bakers. Why me? Well, it's your story.
Why not you?
Yeah, exactly. Why shouldn't it be you?
There's a really good example of something I did a couple of weeks ago. So there are two main types of earned PR, there's reactive PR, where journalists are actively looking for case studies and comments and things like that. And then there's proactive PR, where you actually pitch yourself forward for opportunities and say, would you like to feature me in my story? When it comes to reactive PR, there was an opportunity. So I responded. And the journalist from the Express Online was looking for someone that had successfully won a council tax appeal. And you might look at that and think, well, what's that got to do with PR, Nicola? And you could dismiss it. But the reason that I went for it was because I wanted to show people in the membership and people that I work with that actually you need to wrap everything into a story. And if you understand your messaging, it will really help you. So what I did before I even spoke to the journalist, I sat down and I worked out what it was that I wanted to say. So key things that I would always say to anyone when they're starting out in PR is that you need to do your research. So for this story, when I was compiling my compendium of evidence to win my appeal, I did lots of research. Then after I'd done my research, I presented it as a story. And the journalist went, right. I said, well, it was like we had a start, a beginning, a middle, and an end. She said, oh, I like this. And I was like, yeah, okay. And then the other thing that I did was I made sure that I was very clear in terms of what I wanted to get out of it. So I knew that basically by the time this article went live, it would pretty much say I was tenacious. I did my research. And I also presented everything as a story. Well, hello, what's my messaging? And what is it that I'm trying to say? All
Genius.
of that.
Genius.
And then, so by the end of it, I said to her, well, is it possible to introduce me as, Nicola J. Rowley, founder of NJR PR Communications Agency? Yes, of course, Nicola. Would you like a link through to your website? Yes, I would. Thank you very much. So I sent it to her with the link and everything else. And I said, would you like some pictures? So I sent her the pictures. And the whole piece was absolutely brilliant. I mean, yes, it was talking about me winning this council tax appeal. 20 years ago, I did do that. But it was 20 years ago. And you might have otherwise just dismissed it, but she'd been looking for a case study who had successfully done this and could explain really easily the steps they'd taken to be able to do it. So by presenting it to her in such a way that this is what I did, this is how I carried on, this is you know, what I did. And even in like the interview, I mean, bless her, like, you know, I just talked. I do talk a lot, but I just talked. And I was just like, well, so this is what I did. This is how we did it. This is this. And she was like, this is great, Nicola. Anything else? And I was just like,
she struck gold, didn't she?
Yeah, yeah, she did. She was just like, this is brilliant. Thank you very much. Because I was just doing it all for her. But I didn't waffle. I kept it very, very succinct. So everything that I was saying, she could use these quotes. And she did. So the lesson from all of that is know your messaging, understand what it was that I wanted to get from it. I knew what I wanted to get out of it. And it's exactly what I did get out of it. So if you plan in advance, you're in a much better position. And I certainly didn't overshare anything. So it worked really, really well. And it can work for anyone.
Absolutely. And this is what your challenge is about. It's working out that messaging. So if you don't know it now, do Nicola's challenge and it'll all, right, yes, I get this now. So that's what the 4 days is all about, isn't it? Brilliant.
It certainly is.
Gosh, you know, it's nearly 8:15. Would you believe it? I better let you go. I'm sure you've got things to do. It's been fabulous talking to you. Now, I've put the link to your challenge all over the place in the group. But if people want to get hold of you or see what you do, how do they get hold of you, Nicola? Where do they find you?
You can find me. I mean, it's really not hard to find me, but I'm over on Instagram at Nicola J Rowley PR. I'm usually dancing with hashtag PR dog Rufus, the cockapoo.
Oh, do go find PR dog. He's just gorgeous.
Yeah, he has his moments, but yeah, he is. On the whole, he is very, very special. And so, yeah, Instagram, or I've got a free group called the Communications Community over on Facebook. So come and join, come and say hello. But would love to see you in the challenge. Make the most of it. It's free.
Absolutely.
So you're going to get something from it at the very least.
I can't recommend it highly enough because say, look at where I've got. So brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Nicola, for joining us this evening. I hope you've all found that useful. If you're going to watch this on replay, which I know lots of people do, and you've got some questions, do pop them somewhere and I will ask Nicola on your behalf and get some answers for you. So yes, so do that. So we will leave it there. Thank you so much, Nicola.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. And we'll see you next week in your challenge. Can't wait.
Yes.
Brilliant. Right. Yes. So don't forget, everybody, if you want to have any questions for Nicola, you're very welcome. Then do let me know in the group and I will ask on your behalf. So there's no live on Wednesday this week. There will be a live next week where I'm going to be doing my masterclass. More details will be coming of that. So have a lovely week, everybody, and I will see you next week. All right. Toodaloo.